Season 2 of the Bait Boys podcast is brought to you by 8-Bit Baits, the highest quality color shifting pigments for bait makers by a bait maker. Welcome to the Bait Boys podcast, where we spend thousands of dollars trying to outsmart an animal with the brain the size of a peanut. My name is Jesse with Freak Baits Custom Fishing Lures, and as always, I am joined by my co-hosts who put the wacky back in Wacky Worm, Anthony from Lazy Baits Co. and Trevor from Peak Baits. Gentlemen, how's the week been treating you?
Good. How you doing?
Spectacular. Couldn't be any better. Trevor, what about you?
That's treating me kind of wacky over here.
Kind of wacky.
But I'll manage.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
I do.
No. We are joined by a guest tonight, and this guest needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. One of the most influential voices in the YouTube bait making space. If you make baits, you know exactly who we're talking about. And that is Franko from Engineered Angler Lures. Franko, thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to meet you. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm here in 80-degree weather. I actually had the AC on just like 20 minutes ago in the shop. So sorry.
You're breaking my heart, Franko. You're breaking my heart. That's awesome. Well, thank you
I'm
so
not
much
mad
for
about
doing
that.
Not even a little bit?
Oh,
Not even just up in your frozen tundra in PA? But no, seriously, thank you. We're very excited to get to chat with you, and we are going to pick your brain until it hurts. I hope that's okay. I don't know if you knew what you were getting into exactly. If you've not watched any of the episodes prior to this one, then hopefully we don't scare you off and you'll be willing to come back sometime. But again, thank you.
happy to be here.
Of course. Not of course. That was a stupid thing to say, to happy to be here.
Of course, we're that good. You should be happy.
Of course. The pleasure's all yours, bro.
Enjoy your meal. You too, waitress. She's like, I'm not eating anything.
I don't get a break for another 6 hours. Anyway, before we jump into more with Franko, we're going to keep this short because I know we're all excited and you're all excited to dig into the conversation. Just a couple quick announcements on the podcast side. Just remember that the 8-Bit Baits Bait Boys Battle Royale is in full swing until April 30th. If you are a bait maker of the hard bait variety or the soft bait variety and you use 8-Bit Baits products, or you would like to use 8-Bit Baits products, you can make something, bring your A game and send us a few pictures of it to baitboyspodcast@gmail.com, and you'll be entered in to the Battle Royale. And the judges are myself, Anthony, Trevor, and Michael from 8-Bit Baits. So you have until April 30th to get those in, and you could win one of two $250 gift cards to the 8-Bit Baits online store. So just wanted to throw that reminder out there. It's a long haul. We're doing this one for a few months, so I just want to keep it fresh and keep everybody reminded. We've got some entries that are looking really good so far. So like I said, bring your A game. We'll leave all the details and everything, how to enter, down in the description below as well. But that's all I've got. Anthony, Trevor, do you have anything?
No. Let's get to picking.
Let's get to picking.
Get away.
Right. Awesome. Well, in case anybody just stumbled across this video that doesn't make baits, or they've been living under a rock for the past few years, why don't you introduce yourself and tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
My name's Franko. I'm a bait maker, a lure designer, and an avid fisherman. I have to include that every time because without the fishing, who cares about baits? So I'm an engineer. I've been an engineer since I was 5, I think. I was pulling stuff apart, making my own stuff. By the time I was like 10 or 11, I was already designing baits, mostly out of, bottle caps and anything else I could make a spinner out of. The kind of stuff just about everybody did. But anyway, now I have a YouTube channel. I've had it for 7 years, I think it's been. The Engineered Angler. I think I formally changed it to the Engineered Angler Lures. But just to include that in there. But yeah, and my goal was just to make videos that just recorded my process. I really didn't have any high expectations. Just wanted to get my process down and my way of thinking about it, and hoped that some other people would be interested.
I think you have
people
a
definitely
lot
are.
of people interested.
Absolutely.
Especially our viewership base is probably very interested. Like I said, I mean, I know that even before I started making lures, I was watching people like you and Nate Marling and just learning so much about it. I'm one of those people that I have to research something for a year or two before I actually try to do it. And that was, you were a big part of that research, just understanding.
Oh, cool.
So we're very happy to have you here. And I want to kind of jump into, like, let's rewind it all the way back to the beginning, the foundation. You're called the engineered angler. What is your engineering background and how did that lead into bait design?
Well, like I said, I like psychologically, I've always been an engineer. I've always wanted to know how things work and then wanted to make my own version of it to see if I could replicate the technology. Seriously, I had my own shop and my own little, I guess I was a bit of a dork, but I really loved making my own stuff since I was a kid. But my formal engineering, my dream was to be a sailboat designer. And there was a sailboat company 15 minutes from my house in Gainesville, Florida. It was Hunter Marine. And I went there, talked to the guys. I was already an adult, already had a degree, but I wanted to know, what would you guys look for if I came here? And I said, man, if you have a degree in mechanical engineering or aerospace engineering, I said, cool, I'll get a degree in both. So I went to UF and I started off in mechanical engineering and then moved to aerospace. And then I finished. What happened was that was in the early 80s. And during that time, yacht building declined in the U.S. and Hunter Marine basically closed their doors. So there was like no place to work. So I switched to civil. So I graduated with like a double degree. Almost all my electives were aerospace, which is like insane. It's like, you want to torture yourself. And so I had a mechanical and civil, and I ended up licensed as a civil engineer. So, but I had that love and that background in, from aerospace, all the fluid dynamics, and mechanical, all the kinematic stuff. And so I just love to put that into every part of my life, much to my wife's
Yeah.
frustration. I overthink everything. That is the truth. And I get a lot of comments, man, you overthink this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the designer.
That's the fun of it.
I'm the designer. I'm not doing this as I'm fishing. I'm doing it in my lab. But yeah, and so I started designing lures, like I said, as a kid because it was fun and it was cheap. And then as an adult, because there weren't lures out there that I thought were the best with what I was doing.
Yeah, that's a good reason to get into it. I think we all got into it thinking, this has got to be cheaper.
Yeah.
I think we even sell a shirt that says we thought it'd be cheaper, but it's, yeah.
Yeah.
It starts out that way. You're like, all I need is a knife and some, 5-minute epoxy and everything's great.
No, I mean, and you can make a cheap lure. You can, but it's still going to cost you like $4 in hooks and hardware. So you can go to the bargain bin and get a really nice plastic lure for $1. That almost work, depending on your fishing skills. But yeah, I get a lot of comments talking about, man, isn't it cheaper just to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's a million ways to do it cheaper, but you won't have your own lure and you won't have your own design. And so that's really the key to this. If you're looking for a bargain way to get into fishing, that's not what this is.
It's not.
No.
Not at all. But it's very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Super satisfying.
It's like a drug. As soon as you catch that first lure or that first fish on a lure you made, it's like, game over. This is my entire personality now.
That's funny. That's funny. My daughter got a gift yesterday or something for her birthday, and it was fishing. And I'm like, how come everybody knows that, like, this family, like, we love fishing and like, she's going to love fishing. And my wife's like, yeah, I can't imagine how people know that. Like, that's just your personality now. That's it. I'm like,
that's it.
Valid.
Yep. Wouldn't have it any other way. So you mentioned that you kind of got into it because the lures that were on the market weren't really matching what you were looking for in a lure.
Right.
What were some of those problems that you identified early on that made you think maybe I should try to do this better?
Right. Well, I was doing a little tournament fishing and it's saltwater, actually. It was speckled trout fishing and redfish tournaments. And most of the lures, a lot of people were using mirror lures, like 2 and 3 inch suspending mirror lures. And I just thought they didn't cast well. They didn't have rattles at the time. And they just didn't have the kind of flash I liked. the eyes were too small. There were just a lot of little things that I'm thinking, this could be so much better. The idea of a suspending lure that you can count down to death was brilliant. It worked really well in those shallow water, but it just wasn't right. I wanted to tweak it. So that's what got me started. And I started to make lures out of wood, like everybody does. First started with balsa, and I shaped something, and it was a little rustic looking. It wasn't that horrible, but it worked okay. And then I realized, this is all, engineering. I just need to engineer the action of the lure and forget about the aesthetics. I'll work on aesthetics later. And that's what I did. That's how I got into getting just the right predictable sink rate and then just the right kind of twitch I want. And once I was getting what I wanted out of the lab, out of the lure shop, I was hooked. I thought, okay, this is it. This is my niche for what I want to do. And then I would go to a tournament and people would ask me, so what are you using? And I would show them and they're like, what is that? And I'm like, you can't buy one. There's 3 of them in the world,
Exclusive.
Super satisfying to have people go, so what the hell did you get that? And it was all, of course they got tired of hearing it. I would say, oh, you made it, right? Yeah. You can't buy it. But at that point, I was hooked on the process. And just maybe 2 years after I started making lures, I started making videos in my garage. They were horrendous, terrible lighting, terrible sound. But it wasn't a production, shop. It was just I would work there a few hours every now and then whenever I needed a lure, and then I need to do production. So I built a little clean room out to my wood shop, and it all started there. And then I engineered it so there was process flow and the whole overthought kind of thing. And I really started, and I started like you guys are selling lures. I started with that idea. I said, well, I can fund this through selling some lures, and then I started to do the calculations. I actually did a flow for, to figure out what the shortest path to start to finish and what things I can do simultaneously, all that stuff. I just did all that egghead stuff that you do when you're a civil engineer. And I realized, I can do this, but sorry about the language. It'll end up, costing me all my time, and I just have the time. So I came short of selling lures, like seriously. I ended up I've sold probably 300 or 400 lures, but all to tournament fishing who want a specific something, and they know I can do it. So they'll come to me and then they'll buy 20, 25 of them. So that's usually how it goes.
Does that still happen? Do you still do that on occasion? Or?
Yeah, I still do that.
Okay.
I still do that on occasion. It's rarer now because I don't fish tournaments, so I'm not around those guys as much. But they still call me up and say, "Hey, man, you still have any of those?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't make those anymore." There's a lot of lures I just don't make anymore. And I would have to go back to. I still have all my masters, but I have to go back and get another mold going. I could get it started, but it usually hurts, for them because startup cost is expensive.
Yeah, definitely is. No, that's right. Do you remember the first lure that you ever designed and made that made you think, okay, I'm pretty good at this. Like I'm gonna explore this as a.
I might have it hanging. Hold on, I might have it hanging.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Please do.
Sorry about the blank airtime.
No, you're fine. This is going to be worth it.
All right. So this is what it looks like. You can see with it.
That's cool.
That was my first paint job, clear coat. All right. This is a balsa lure. And like everyone who starts out making lures, you want to be unique. You don't want to do whatever you can buy at the store just because those things work. You want to do something different. So I really believe in fixed hooks. I just haven't come up with a good way to include them into a hard body lure. But that's what I was trying to do with this. I was trying to have a crankbait. This was a suspending crankbait. I got this to suspend in my little water container, to suspend mid-water for 1.5 minutes without moving. On video. I had the video somewhere. So it was perfectly engineered, for those 1.5 minutes. After a while, everything changes because the temperature of the water changes, the the density of the wood changes because maybe there's a little bit of a water leak through everything changes. So perfect suspension is a dream. But anyway, this was my first one. And I made it because I wanted this. I liked this shape. I wanted an included lip,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted these hooks. Did I catch fish on this? It had a beautiful action. And it got a million hits. It felt like it was hitting rocks as I was coming back. And nothing was hooking up. I think I caught one fish that actually hooked up on it. But it soon became, a memento. So, but that was my first one. That was my first one that I fully designed. Didn't copy anybody else's stuff.
Did you ever think about making one with treble hooks?
I was just thinking that. Stick some treble hooks on it and fish it again.
I made lots of different versions of this with treble hooks. Yeah. But I got away from the fixed lip because it's easier to make a solid lure with a Lexan lip where the shape is really easily repeatable and the angle's really easily repeatable and it's strong. Because when you do, when you make something thin and you make it out of wood, obviously it tends to be a bit light, but it even in any kind of casting resin, it has to have some girth to it to actually.
That casting resin for a lip, I tried to make a jerkbait with the lip integrated, and I went as far as to make one mold for the lip, which was just like the chin of the bait and the lip, and then I would take that and put it into the jerkbait mold, and then pour that with a different mixture, more micro balloons. The lip was solid, and still, it's just not strong enough, and it just totally throws it off. Like, you have more weight in a spot where you don't really want more weight, so it's like, yeah, Lexan's definitely the way to go, or even just some type of other material other than
something that's controllable, right? Something that's strong enough and controllable. Even like those even the wafer board, the little fiberglass.
Yep.
I've been
using those a lot.
I really like the action you get from a really thin lip because you get a lot of turbulence behind that thing because there's no edge. There's nothing to soften that turbulence. It's really cool.
That's what I ended up going with on it after a year of trying it. All different types of lips and polycarbonate and integrating the lip. And I used the circuit board lips, and the action is just amazing. It jumps from side to side on a crank. It's just a perfect crank. And it all had to do with that lip.
Take that circuit board and cut it into a disc. Try a circular shape. Telling you.
That's what it is. It is.
Yeah, you already got it? Yeah, man. The circular, really thin lips just have like a weird, phenomenal action. I don't know why, but it really works well. I really like it. I've got a lot of little experimental ones around that I use that way that I haven't done videos on, but that are kind of my favorites as far as the action. And they're usually small ones I use on smaller species, but they're fun.
Do you remember whatever the turning point was where you were like, this isn't just a hobby anymore. This is more than a hobby. This is something I want to like dedicate a lot of time and effort to. Do you remember what point in your journey that was?
Well, I think I'm an obsessive person. So my hobby.
We all are. You'll fit right in.
My hobbies are obsessions. So as soon as I become interested, I become obsessed. And then at that point, something has to turn me off. I'm either all on or off. So there was never really a turning point. It's still, strictly speaking, it's a hobby. I'm not making a living on it, but it's an obsession that is in my mind all the time. Some people sing songs in the shower. I'm designing lures in the steam on the glass, so it's definitely an obsession.
Yeah. You have to be obsessed to do it for more than just trying it, right? Like you have to, something we've discussed many times on the show is you got to kind of have something wrong with you. Like you got to kind of enjoy failure to an extent because there's so much failure involved with designing baits and making baits, but you can't let that stop you. And that's when you see people drop out is they've tried it and they've run into their first or second major failure and they're like, this isn't worth it. Whereas a lot of us who do this long term are more, what's the word I'm looking for? Psychotic? about it. And the failure just means I have to try harder. I have to do better and I've got to figure this out. So yeah, obsession is a key trait to have as a bait maker, I think.
I think so. And I think there's two types that succeed. One is someone who's obsessed. The other one is self-deluded, who sees their bait and goes, "This is a great bait," and it's like, maybe not. It doesn't really work right. It'll roll when you pull it a little too fast. It's easy to be blind to your own failings of your lures. Because that's something you watch out for as a fisherman, right? I made this lure, so I'm going to adapt my fishing style, my technique to make this lure work. You know what I mean? And that's it's subtle, but it happens. And I find myself doing it. Like, I know this lure. I mean, I designed a crankbait. No, it wasn't a crank. Oh yeah, it was a lipless crankbait. It was the first lipless crankbait I ever designed, and it was because I was using rattle traps. I was using rattle traps for catching redfish, big bull redfish around oyster bar, and it can't go too deep. So I was using a floating rattle trap, which is a piece of crap. Sorry, they're garbage. And they're just cheaply made. They cast like a leaf. It goes out. You can't cast it where you want to go. You just hope it lands somewhere near it. And then, it was just, and so I thought I'm going to design a floating lipless crankbait that will cast a mile straight ahead. And so I built, and I don't know if I have one around, but it's called the Flea, and it looks like a flea, and it casts a mile and it casts straight ahead. But when it cranks back, it's tender on the crank back. It tends to want to come to one side and then it'll go to the other side. So it's not like there's some weird asymmetry. It's a dynamic problem. So could do this and then go and then come this way and go that way. And so I adapt to it. It works. I adapt to it. But that's the kind of thing you can't sell. You know what I mean? I can't sell that. No one would buy that and say, "Oh yeah, this works great." I've caught a ton of fish on it, though. I've caught a ton of fish. You know what I catch on that thing? Flounder. Because
Really?
it just beats the bottom, especially a muddy bottom. It just beats the bottom really well. And then if you get caught on a oyster, you just stop it. It's got enough flotation where it'll free itself, and then you crank again. So it's actually a successful lure as far as I'm concerned. But it's definitely
Works great for you.
Yeah, it's not something I would try to sell.
Anthony, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, you call it a feature. It's a feature of it. It's got a random erratic action.
Yeah. No mistakes, only happy accidents.
Yeah. It's a designed in erratic action. It's not, there's nothing random out of the shop.
Totally meant to do that. Yeah. Never done that before. Now, let's talk about we talked a little bit about failure already, but let's talk about the design philosophy and failure. So when you're designing baits, have you ever designed a bait that you were convinced, well, I mean, I guess this lipless is it worked though. It worked for you. Have you ever designed a bait that you thought, based on your engineering knowledge and your fishing knowledge, like this is definitely going to work, and it 100% wasn't usable at all? Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yes. In fact, I kept it around until maybe a month ago. Just something to poke me in the side. Because it would, first of all, aesthetically, it was beautiful. I did a really nice paint job, and the finish was perfect. It just looked like the kind of lure that would work perfect. It just looked perfect, and it did not work. It was a crankbait with a lip, 5 inches, I think it was. And it was perfectly symmetrical, so I made it on the lathe. So I can't even say, "Oh, I carved it bad." And to this day, I don't know why it didn't work. And I tried a lot of crap. I tried changing all kinds of stuff. And then I would repaint it, touch it up again, and put it back in the water. Nothing. I mean, it would just roll. I don't know why. I have no idea why. And to this day, it was one of those things that humbled me. Like, you think you know everything. You want to lecture people on the physics of this stuff. Shut up. You can't do it yourself. You know what I mean? I totally got humbled on that. And I kept it around because I was like, okay, you can't do this by instinct. You can't. I mean, I can't. You have to You have to have this worked out. And then maybe you can redo it by instinct. You can't come up with a lure and say, okay, this is going to be nice because it's pretty. That's my experience anyway.
Life would be a whole lot easier if it worked that way, though, wouldn't it? Just making something look cool meant it worked well. Yeah. We'd save me a lot of time, that's for sure. But do you think that there's one specific thing or a couple of specific things that most bait makers overlook from an engineering standpoint whenever they're designing baits? Is there something that sticks out to you as what you see a lot of people not considering that?
Well, a lot of folks just focus on aesthetics way too much. And they don't focus enough on, in my opinion, on how, the how true the lines are on your lure. Now, if you're designing in CAD, you're going to get a perfectly symmetrical lure. And if you want perfectly true curves, right? Unless you want divots in it or whatever. But that's not going to be a problem for you. But if you're carving lure, you're trying to like make it look real with a little divot at the anus and all this kind of stuff that nobody else cares about. And it's going to introduce the places for error where there's going to be an asymmetry. Then you don't know why it wants to roll to the right or left. I think focusing too much on how the lure looks or trying to make it look like a real fish, that's just the knucklehead move. It's not a real fish. It's never going to look like a real fish. It's a piece of wood or a piece of plastic. And they're not attacking it because like, Jim from yesterday. They're looking at it like that thing is moving weird. I'm going to hit it just in case it's good to eat. That's really what's happening down there. That's my opinion. Eh?
That's a very fair opinion. Makes sense. I'm only a little wounded. It's fine. But
no, I mean, look.
No. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not. Look, there's a lot of really talented lure makers out there making lures that look fantastic. And I'm sure it took a lot of iterations to make it work. You know what I mean? You get it just right. And there's lots of folks who carve every scale and everything. And those are beautiful pieces of art. And a lot of them work. They actually come out and go out to the lake and they actually swim straight, more or less. But I don't think that's the focus you need. If your goal is to fish with it and to catch fish with it, then you're wasting a bunch of time.
No, absolutely.
If your goal is to impress and to sell a $500 lure, you're going to have to put some aesthetic features into it.
Love to sell a $500 lure. No, you're exactly right. And I think that what I've found in doing wooden baits, and you're exactly right, the more realistic you're trying to make it with like fins and all, and capturing every detail, the harder it is to get any sort of action out of it. Like there's a specific scenario that I think of where somebody commissioned me for and I have a YouTube video about it, a mud sunfish glide bait. I remember talking to this gentleman and saying like, I can put fins on it, but that's gonna make it really hard to get an action out of it. He's like, I don't care about the action. I trust my skills. I want it to look real. I'm like, fair enough. Like it was actually really easy to make at that point in time because it worked. It was not the best glide you'd ever get out of anything by any stretch of the imagination, but it did have a back and forth. And he wanted a adjustable weight system in it that I'd never done before, but figured out. And it was a very long, very trial and error based build. But I think a lot of that effort that went into the realism of it was definitely, it dampens the functionality of it 100%. But there are two different markets, right? Like that shows that there's some people that they want to buy a bait and never fish with it, which kind of pisses me off sometimes because people are like, it's like, I make them for you to fish. Like I built, like you can fish with this bait. I don't care how pretty it looks. You can fish with this bait. I won't sell it to you if you can't fish with it. But there is that market. There's the people that they're just collectors, as they're collectors of everything. But then you have the people that I want a bait that's going to catch me a hog, right? Like I want a bait that's going to, really perform. And I think there's definitely a balance to be struck in between those two. As far as like, I take a little bit of contention for. We're not going to name any names, but there are certain products on the market out there that are sold at a very, very premium price that look terrible. And I know the fish don't care. I know that the fish don't care, but it's also like, if I'm going to pay that much for a glorified chunk of resin, I want it to at least look halfway decent. Right. So that's Neither here nor there.
You know, and when I say that aesthetics don't matter, my point is that when you're designing, you shouldn't design an aesthetic. That's not, in my mind, you should design lure action. And that includes size, all the dimensions, right? Size, weight, and then specific shapes to create that particular movement, right?
Yeah.
Then
No,
the aesthetics are a secondary thought, right? Then you say, well, then I'm going to smooth this out, whatever. I'm going to put a little micro fin on top, whatever you want to put on there to make it look a little more realistic. And, you know, and when I say look realistic, it's more the profile, the shadow of it. And if it has a little fin on it, maybe the fish will be a little more likely to approach it closer. You know what I mean? So you can't make anything look perfectly real when it has 6 giant steel hooks hanging. All this linking hardware and a line coming off it. It's just, that's absurd. I mean, why put fins? I mean, the fins should be there to make it do something, right? Either to stabilize it or like, I found that just through experimentation that crankbaits, lipless crankbaits, if you have a little bit of a fin just back of the center point on the top, it actually increases the rotation in that wiggle because they're pretty, you know, those things don't move a whole lot. They have that really shimmy, but if you put that fin up there, the bigger the fin, there's a limit. The bigger the fin, the bigger the action, typically.
Really?
With that fin. So, you know, there are things that you can add. There are fins and stuff like you can add that not only adds to a little realism, but also helps the action a little bit.
No, absolutely. And you're exactly right. Like it's more about the action and the profile and than it is the paint job. But, you know, it's also fun to paint something to look really nice. I've seen you do it as, you know, hundreds of times. Like you're very good at it as well. So it's not, you know, and we all know it's to catch the fisherman, not the fish, right? Like it's just, even if it's for yourself, it's because you like it that way. And that's, you know, I'm rambling at this point, but we'll move on. But no, you're exactly right. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
One of the criticisms I get often is like, oh man, you always paint your lures the same color. I'm not going to paint it purple and hot pink, dude. It's not a color that catches fish around here anyway. There's probably somewhere you can, but I mean, I'm not going to do you know, some kind of parrotfish or something. I know the color schemes that work in the different times of the year and the different, you know, when the water's cold, when the water's dark. I know those, and the variation is really small. There's like 3 different color schemes that I use in those waters. And why do I limit myself? Because I want to catch fish. I'm not looking. I'm not trying to make, you know, a statement in art. I'm not. I'm trying to make lures that actually will attract a bite.
Makes sense. Perfectly logical. But yeah, I know that all of us have been asked for some wacky paint schemes before, and you're kind of like,
you sure?
Where are you fishing that you think that's gonna work? But I mean, I was surprised by what is it, whatever that pink and yellow one is from Throwback.
Pink lemonade.
Whatever they call it. Pink lemonade. I was surprised that like they can't keep those things for more than a few minutes after they drop them.
Pink and yellows are good colors. They are.
I don't know where any pink and yellow fish are outside of the pet store, but
I don't understand what that. My last fishing video, I caught a giant. Well, no, not my last one. A couple before that, I caught a huge snook. My biggest snook ever. It was massive. This is massive, beautiful fish. And right after that, the guy I was fishing with, who's a ex-tournament fisherman, he's bought a lot of lures from me. He caught like a 40-pound black drum, and we got that thing on the boat. And I looked at the lure he got on there, and he had this ugly pink and yellow thing, and it was like 2.5 inches long. And I'm like, but he knows how to fish those lures, and he knows that it looks like in that brown water, that color looks like a shrimp. It turns into like a muddy orangey color. And once it gets down by those oysters and he's popping off the bottom, he just knows, man. That guy knows what he's doing.
It's game over.
That's a good point.
Is
Totally changes colors. No, that's it.
I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
Jesse.
Just trying to keep us moving forward.
I'm just picturing a shrimp in my brain, and I'm like, pink, yellow, brown. Yeah, it kind of makes like an orangey, like dirty.
Yep. It works,
Makes
man.
sense.
And that's the thing. That's where your fishing skills informs your design and your colors, right? So if you don't have the fishing skills, you're going to have to rely on someone else, or, this is not cheating, you rely on tested lures that are being made by Rapala or whomever, and you know those things work, but you're going to add your own, design alteration to make it sink faster or whatever, cast farther or whatever. So yeah,
definitely. Is there a fishing myth, or not fishing myth, a bait design myth that really bugs you? That like, if you could kill it right now, what would it be?
there's a bunch, but the worst one.
We got time. I mean, if you want to rattle off a couple, then that's fine too.
I've actually gotten into not arguments, but extended discussions with people about wood. Like people are, and I get it. There's sometimes it's just nice to work with a specific wood, but it doesn't matter. You could be making it out of concrete. If you can get it to do what you want to do it, and you can get the paint on there, it's going to work. You can use ironwood or balsa. If you can figure out the density difference, a way to make it change, then it'll work the same. It doesn't matter. But people are, oh no, balsa. It's got to be balsa because balsa. But why? There's really no reason that any particular wood would ever work for any other particular wood. Now, if you're a marine, and I said this in my argument with this guy, I said, if you're a marine biologist and you're about to tell me that you've done tests and these fish are sounding the lure with some sort of like a dolphin does and can tell the density, then let's talk, because then we got some design options here. But it's not, then it's not. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I use exclusively basswood, not because I think it's the best wood. It's because I can get a lot of it cheap, and it's easy to work with. Like that's not. Yeah, it
has the word bass in there.
Yeah, and it's basically probably what it is. It's the same density of a bait fish
for lure. You got bass lure. That's
exactly.
It's halfway there, bro.
Well, and that's what I do. I take wood off of it, and then it's a lure. So it's perfect. But it's not. Yeah, it's not because I think it's better than any other wood out there. It's just it's very inexpensive. It's easy to work with, and I got a ton of it. And at the end of it, I still have a nice wooden lure. I'll use like a harder wood like poplar or something like that if I'm doing something that's specifically like musky or pike oriented, just for the toughness. But outside of that, like I completely agree. I think that the wood type does not matter.
Those are good points, though. I mean, there are reasons to use different woods, but it's not because the wood is going to catch the fish. It's because the wood is denser. You need a denser wood because you don't want to add a bunch of lead. Or it's less dense because you want it to float easier, blah blah blah. Or it's a really hard wood and it won't take a bunch of teeth marks. Those are all really good reasons. Or it's easy to carve and you're going to do a lot of detail. Those are all really good reasons, but it's not because it's a magic wood that catches fish. I use camphor because I have camphor trees on my property. It's a really interesting wood. First, it has some pretty colorations in the grain, but it's light. It's about as light as a cedar, but it's got oils in it. It's got camphor oils in it that make it like really resistant to any rot. So if you get little punctures in there, it won't absorb water, and it keeps the buoyant sort of characteristics that you designed in it. It tends to keep it a little better. So I use camphor, and people always ask me, well, I want to use camphor too. Where can I get it? And I'm like, I don't know, my backyard is limb falls, but I've
never even heard of camphor.
I have no idea what you do with camphor with. I have no idea.
I've never even heard of it before.
It smells like Bengay. In fact, when I work with it in here, I have to leave the shop like after a little while because it is such a strong smell. It smells like somebody spilled a bucket of Bengay.
So it's like resin heavy, or like is it?
It's just it has a camphor oil in it. I mean, it's used for all kinds of stuff.
Oh, I've heard of camphor oil. I didn't realize that came from a tree. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The other thing we were talking about, sort of like handed down beliefs, and I don't think lure makers are the worst. I think I think fishermen are the worst because fishermen, if they were chewing gum the day they caught that big bass, they got to chew gum every time they catch the big bass, or if the left side of the lure was scuffed up, then they will scuff up the left side of every lure they have. You know what I mean? It gets kind of crazy. It's witchcraft at that point. But there's a lot of past information, poorly delivered information. There's a lot of crap information on crankbaits, on lipped crankbaits, and what makes them dive, why they dive at certain depth, and that kind of thing, what gives them the action. And it's, if anybody tells you a specific lure works this way for a specific reason, they're not giving you good information, even if I tell you that, because there are so many variables involved in why a lure works a certain way in a certain body of water with a certain fish in it, with a specific line tied onto it. It's difficult to generalize completely. You can have rules of thumb, and that's usually whenever you see me on the dry race board, and I'm saying, okay, and I usually like to go a third of the way back or whatever. I'm giving you some information. It's not because that is the tried and true only way to do it. It's a rule of thumb to get you really close to getting a lure that's going to work, or give you the best chance on a lure that's going to work, so that when you go and try it, you got a really good chance of getting a good lure. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you can't do it a million different ways. So whenever anybody gives you a specific way that is absolutely, this is why this exactly works this way, they're full of it, because there's just too many variables. There's just too many variables.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to accomplish, like there's more than one way to, what was it, milk a goose, Anthony? Is that what you used to say?
Mm-hmm.
That you can get, you can get similar action from two different approaches, and it's still like caused by two completely different features on the bait. I'm talking about two separate baits, I think. I don't know. But bait A, bait B have similar actions, but for completely different reasons. So that makes sense, that there's not the people that say that this is the only way you can do this.
Yeah. No, because
that makes sense.
A bait will change just with you make it a little fatter or you make it a little longer. It'll change. That'll change how deep it'll go. It's weird, but it will. The bigger the action, the shallower the dive, with the same exact lip angle, size of the bigger the action, the shallower, because the energy goes into movement and not diving. So it's all about energy. It's all about forces fighting each other and finding the angle of, where the actual forces end up pointing in the end when the battle's over. When you get a big action, all that energy is being used in the action. If you diminish that action, you'll get a deeper dive. It seems weird, but it does. It works. So that means if you move the tie-on eye closer to the lip, typically, rule of thumb, you will get a bigger action. You'll get a bigger action. If you move it away, you'll get a more of a shimmy. So as you move it away, you get a deeper dive. Same exact lure, same exact angle, everything. So, there are a lot of dynamic, kinematic sort of adjustments that can be made to make the same lure do different things. But you can't fix a screwed up lure with most of those kind of adjustments. Because I get a lot of those requests. Hey, my lure just doesn't work. It spins. It helicopters. I go, start again.
Try something different this time.
Save the hooks. And they're expensive.
That's funny.
No, that's awesome. Well, we've got a lot more with Franko to come, but we're going to take a quick pause to hear from somebody who actually has time to go fishing. And that's Jovan from The Real Bass Pursuit with this week's RBP Pick of the Week.
What's going on, guys? Jovan here with The Real Bass Pursuit, and welcome back to the RBP's Pick of the Week. For this week's RBP's Pick of the Week, we're playing with the bladed jig. Now, the real reason why this bait works so well comes down to the vibration that it puts off in the water. Bass don't always have to see something to find it, and a lot of the times, they're feeling movement first. When that blade starts vibrating, it sends out a signal that something is alive and nearby. What makes it even more effective this time of the year is that it still works on that slower retrieve. Bass aren't always in the mood to chase, but when something stays in their zone and keeps moving naturally, they'll commit to it. Another great thing about the bladed jig is the way it moves. It doesn't come through the water perfectly straight. It has a slight hunting motion and it makes it look more real. Most bait fish don't swim perfectly straight, especially when they're being pressured. This is also one of the best baits for covering water and figuring out where the bass are holding. Once you get that first bite, you can start dialing it into exactly what they want. One thing that's important is having multiple weights and profiles available. It's good to have sizes ranging from a 1/4 ounce to a 1/2 ounce so you can adjust based on how the bass are reacting. Sometimes they'll commit to a 3/8 ounce right away, but if the bite gets tougher, dropping down to a 1/4 ounce or going with a smaller profile can make a huge difference. And if you need to fish deeper or you're dealing with wind or you want to keep that bait a little bit more in the strike zone, moving up to a 1/2 ounce is going to give you that control. Remember, this bait works because it stays in the strike zone, it puts off the right signal, and it gives bass something they're confident in committing to. Once again, my name is Jovan with The Real Bass Pursuit, and this here was your RBP's Pick of the Week. Now back to the Bait Boys podcast.
Thank you, Jovan. That was very informative for someone who didn't used to fish a lot with a bladed jig and has seen the light since. That told me a few things I didn't already know. Franko, are you a bladed jig type of guy? Do you ever throw any of those?
I like a bladed jig. I prefer a bladed jig to just a standard, clean head jig. In fact, I was working on, before this drawing was up here, I was working on a micro bladed jig with ink, just like that one, almost. Except for I had a more lifelike head made for crappie with an incorporated blade that I could cast in place and everything. I had drawn up there. And then I was going to also make the soft plastic bodies. And that's coming up. That's something that I have a family member who works for like one of the wealthiest families in the country. Anyway, and it's a woman and she loves the crappie fish. And she knows about my channel and wanted some kind of
That's cool.
distinctive crappie lure. So I might make it.
What's the markup on that one going to be? It should be,
yeah, right. It's
1800%.
So that's the irony of life, right? The wealthier you are, the more free stuff you get. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's why I never get anything free. No, I'm just no, but yeah. What do you guys think about? I know Anthony and Trevor, you're both fans of the bladed jig, but what do you think about Jovan's information there? Did you learn anything you didn't already know?
I'm waiting for you, Trev. You can go.
If I did, I don't remember. But if I, I'm going to be honest. When I go fishing, all rhyme and reason goes out the window and I just really do what I think the fish want me to do and it works or it doesn't. I'll either just commit to burning it and, searching, finding them and get the reaction strike, or maybe I'll just play with it and bounce it and see what wants to play. But I like his tips. I think they're good. I think they're excellent, actually.
I don't know if I learned anything because I spent a lot of time throwing a black and blue bladed jig, just like he's holding in the video. And now it's got me reminiscing. Roll the clip again of the night fishing, me on the kayak. I can throw a bladed jig all day, black and blue, all night, black and blue. And even if it's not getting bit, I'm still enjoying it. Just because at least you have some action, some versatility. I can slow roll it. I like to pop it, let it fall, pop it, let it fall, and really start ripping it, throwing it into hydrilla. So, yeah. He's got me wanting to go night fishing. Mm-hmm.
Might be a minute or two.
Black and blue is a good color down here in Florida too. It works everywhere. But I'll tell you, if you ever get a chance, a hot summer day like those, like really blue sky day, got a lot of sunshine, middle of the day, throw something with a skirt that's, if you can find it, bubblegum coat. Pink. It draws a lot of
really. Huh. I don't know that I've ever seen, at least not I might have to talk to some of our wire bait making friends.
That's what I've been playing with here. A bait with pink. Pink tail.
The mean bean. Is that the mini or the mighty?
That's the mini.
I need 50 of each, please. Thank you.
All right. You got
I'll expect those by Monday.
What year is it? 2026? I'll get them to you by 2030.
Okay. Perfect. I'll just buy a mold. But all right. Well, that was your RBP's Pick of the Week, brought to you by The Real Bass Pursuit and the Bait Boys podcast. Make sure you're following Jovan. He does stuff like this all the time. He's got his Tackle Tip Tuesdays. He's got tons of great informative fishing content. So we talk mostly about bait making on this channel. So if you're looking for more fishing tips and things like that, Jovan, he's on YouTube, Instagram, on a lot of different places. So make sure you're following him. We'll leave all of his information in the description below. But now we're going to talk, Franko, a little bit about like a dream scenario, something that's obviously it's a situation that none of us are really ever going to be in. Well, unless this lady really, really likes your crappie bait that you make her. If you had an unlimited budget and zero production limits, what bait would you build?
Crap. I don't think I've ever thought about that. I don't think I could stick to one bait. It would have to be a lot of baits. That would be probably my dream come true, is to be able to put out so many varieties of baits, and not like, if I had an unlimited budget, I would have a production team that built them, and I would just be going nuts, designing and building the prototype, perfecting the action, and handing it out. That would be my thing. Just designing a brand new lure every day and trying to just put it out there and have it made a bigger production, or big production runs. That would be really fun. And I guess I would have to give them away, because who the hell is going to buy myself? Who would want,
I'd buy it, Franko.
Yeah. Anyway.
But there's no like crazy like onboard AI.
I don't
24 karat gold plated. Like you wouldn't
really,
do anything
no. I mean,
like just nutso.
I've been played around with internal sound stuff, with internal like ongoing. A rattle that continues like a little internal thumper. I've played around with all that stuff. You can build them. It's not hard to make. The lure has to be a little bigger, but not much. I played around with all that, but to me that it just feels, I don't know, it's synthetic. If that seems, I don't know if that makes sense. It just doesn't seem right to me. I think I like the purity of shape, and just the action of the lure, because of how the fisherman makes it work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where you really get power. I mean, your fishing knowledge informs the design of the lure. And if you don't have a whole lot of fishing knowledge, then you're going to have, like I said before, you're going to have to look for it somewhere else. So your technique fishing is really what turns that pretty lure into a fish catching machine. Not if you do it by itself. Yeah, I don't have any aspirations to make, computer driven. I've seen a lot of those cool robotic lures that'll swim by themselves and all that. What do you do with that? I mean, when do you know when you got a bite? It's like baiting. To me, it's like what I call the bait and wait technique of fishing. You just throw a lump of meat out and read the paper.
Yeah.
It's just
throw
not
a shiner under a bobber and let it sit.
I'm not saying that's not fun.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just not the technique, the kind of stuff that challenges me and that I enjoy.
It's a little boring from a design perspective. It's no, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about making YouTube. Because as I said before, and I can already tell you're a humble person, because every time I say something like this, you're like, oh no. But all of us agree, so you don't have to, that you're one of the most prominent people in the bait making YouTube space, obviously, and that goes.
Appreciate
so you did it. You don't believe us, but we believe it. So, and we're the watchers, we're the viewers in that scenario. So please trust me whenever I say that you are one of the most prominent people and voices in the bait making YouTube channel space. So, what are your thoughts on where bait making YouTube is right now, and where would you like to see it go in the next few years?
That's a good question. And if I could empower YouTube to do the right thing, it would really to mesh the folks who really want to see this kind of thing with the product. I mean, the YouTube videos, not just mine, obviously. There's a lot of even really small channels that put out some really interesting content, and they don't get the views. And I don't know why. I mean, to me, if it was a really smart, what do they call it? Algorithm. If it was a really smart algorithm, it would just know, okay, there are, 500,000 on this channel that are subscribers, and another 300,000 on this channel, and then 60 here, 40 there, and 30. Well, just lump those all into the ones that get notified for every lure channel. Why not do that? But I guess it just doesn't pay for them to do that. If I could make a change, that would be it. So that anybody who's ever showed real interest, anybody who's ever subscribed anywhere on a lure building channel would get everybody else's notification and let you know, hey, so-and-so just put out another soft plastic. It's really interesting. And I think it would change everything.
That's a good point. Like, do any of you guys watch YouTube on like your TV?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
through the Roku app
Yeah.
or something? Like when I go on, it's all just nonsense. And I watch a lot of nonsense, but like that's not all I watch. Like I watch a lot of fishing and a lot of bait making, and like you have to search for that most of the time unless your notifications are on for that channel.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't really
Yeah,
make sense because clearly I have an interest in it. Why are you showing me Hot Ones every episode of it? Like, and I refresh and it's just the same stuff again. Like I already went through it. I don't want to watch this. Give me another selection to scroll through.
Yeah, I mean, the algorithm doesn't have to be that smart, right? Why isn't it you just compile every subscriber to every lure channel and that's your list. And then you just put that out to anybody who's ever looked at a fishing video or a lure video. Everybody's channel would grow so fast, so much faster because there was just a lot of cross interest, right? Nobody does the same thing. And you guys would get, my viewers, I would get yours. Everybody would be in this really happy world that Disney would love. Anyway, I think it would improve things. I just don't. The algorithm isn't built to get you what you want to see. It's built to have you watch something you didn't really want to see, but you're going to stay an extra 20 minutes because they're making money on it. That's the sad truth. But whatever, it's free.
Yeah.
I pay for mine.
It's same. Yeah. I got so sick of ads that I just like, whatever. I mean, I'm sure I watch enough YouTube that they were generating more ad revenue off of me than the like $12 a month I pay for YouTube Premium. So I was like, I work in marketing.
Yeah.
And so I know all the dirty little tricks that companies pull to like psychological warfare you into buying their product. And so like, I'm the type of person that I'll click, if I'm served an ad, I'll click on it just because I know it costs them money and then close out of it immediately, even if I wanted the thing. But YouTube is so silly when it comes to that stuff because I obviously, like Anthony was saying, I watch a ton of YouTube. I watch a lot of bait making YouTube, but on my home screen where it's just serving me up suggestions, unless I'm subscribed to the channel, I never get bait making content. Never, ever.
That's interesting.
Which is silly. I get some of the other like if I look up like video editing, I'll get 1,000 different channels for video editing, like different videos for video editing. If I look up and watch one 5-minute DaVinci Resolve video, I'll get served nothing but DaVinci Resolve tutorials for the next week.
Yeah.
But bait making, like I wonder where that disconnect is, or where that, because it does work like that for other niches, other communities.
Yeah.
Like why doesn't it work like that?
Because
For
they
bait making?
have ads that they run on them for DaVinci Premium or some other app premium. But what are they running ads for on a bait making channel? Doesn't it go by what kind of category your channel falls into? And you get a different amount of money per viewer. Like some are more valuable. So if you're interested in this more valuable category, they're going to pump that one to you. I feel like.
Yeah.
I never put much thought into this up until now, but
maybe it's so smart it knows you make lures and it's thinking, aren't you sick of this anyway?
Right. Your wife is tired of this.
Your wife is tired of watching bait making videos.
I can see through the camera on your TV that your wife is sick and tired of this.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's just weird to think about, but I try not to think about it too much.
I don't know about you guys. One of the things that I know, there aren't enough, I think, sort of forums for YouTube developers or YouTube content producers to get together and just talk about this kind of stuff, like those kind of frustrations. And the other thing too is like your own personal sort of methodology and how you include your own viewership as a content creator. Like I stopped watching. I know this sounds weird, but I stopped watching lure making videos. I just did. I found that it stagnated my interest. I would like if I watched a full build, I would feel like, well, that's been done, and it doesn't. What drives me is like, oh, like my last experience fishing, the last time I saw something, and oh crap, I could make something that's a little better. But when I watch other lure builders, I just think, wow, that guy did a really nice job, and then I don't get any sort of juice. You know what I mean? It doesn't drive me to try to make something, and so I just stopped watching. I'll just click on the thumbnail and just kind of scroll across as fast as I can to the end product to see how I made it. It works. I don't really watch it. It kills my creativity, I guess. I don't know, my creative energy anyway.
Well, especially because you're making content out of it, like, so like, I don't like you're watching someone do what you're about to go film to do tomorrow. Like, it's kind of, I get it. It's kind of like, well, no, I don't really want to do it. I just watch this guy do it.
That's exactly it. Like it kind of dulls it. Yeah.
Well, that speaks to how different everybody is, because if I'm feeling like I'm in a creative rut, that's what'll get me out of it. And it's not because I want to go make the thing that they made. It's because like any little spark of an idea is all I need to get started. But like, if I can't find that spark, that's where I go for it, is bait making YouTube. It's like, even if it's just to get the gears lubed up and just to get my brain turning in that headspace. So I take the opposite approach, but I completely understand that what you're like, both you and Anthony are saying, like, I could see how that would be like a bit of an obstacle whenever it comes to, or a bottleneck whenever it comes to creativity as well, because you're seeing all the things that have already been done and you're not trying to redo what somebody's already done. That makes sense too. Yeah. And the, Trevor had a great question that, as we were planning for this episode, that he brought up, and I would like for him to ask it because it's such a good question.
All right, Franko, you are a legend, whether you will own it or not. So my question is, I watched your channel a year and a half, well before making baits, painting baits. So my question is, are you aware of the impact that you have had on the community? Like, do you see it versus people telling you that you have this impact?
My personal sort of experience of that, which is, I have to say, thank you and thanks for watching, and I'm glad it was helpful. I really do it because I love doing it and I love sharing what I'm doing. To me, it's like, it's nice to feel like there's somebody watching you do it, so I can turn around and go, are you checking this out? It's so cool. To me, that's what I'm doing on the YouTube. So I really appreciate that. And it's my personal experience of the impact I've had on the lure making folks out there has all come from like people who have really been open and commented and talked about how, that it's brought back memories of their dad who passed away very recently, or folks who are, hey, I'm stuck in a wheelchair and this is the only thing I can do. It's such a great thing. Thank you so much. I've had school teachers say, hey, I'm using your stuff to teach physics, in the young kids, to teach them so they can learn, so they can include making a simple lure and understanding the physics beyond it. Those are the things that I guess my experience of my impact, but I don't have like a broader feel for it. Like, it's not like anybody recognizes me or anything. And also you get like, I get shot down a lot, man. I'll like at least 3 or 4 times I've reached out to other YouTube content providers or makers, and there'll be small channels that are good. The edit is nice, it's well made, the guy has talent, and it's usually an actual fisherman, a bass fisherman. And I'll approach him and say, hey, here's my channel, this is what I do, I like your channel, I'd like to do a collaboration. How about if you just dream up your lure you would love to have if they made it, and I will make it, and I'll make a few, and we can go fishing together. Have you ever seen a video?
That'd be awesome. No.
I was saying, yeah, no takers? Like, that's...
No takers. I know if that had been me, I would have been, hell yeah, at least to get a free lure out of the damn thing. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
No, everyone says, gee, you know, I don't really know. And I've had no one who wanted to collaborate doing that. And
Is the
I'm
offer
like,
still on the table?
Right?
Say,
not this time of year. Thanks, Anthony. No.
yeah.
But yeah, so I stopped doing that. I stopped reaching out because it was like, I couldn't understand it. That's because it wasn't like, hey man, you know, I wasn't even reaching up. It wasn't like, oh man, I didn't want anybody to think that I'm trying to benefit because I'm reaching up to a really big channel. I wanted to say, hey, I just want to go fishing with you. I think your channels are cool and I would love to make you a lure. And not like I'm going to get any huge benefit from it. But anyway, I got zero out of that. That's been my experience. Lure made. To I think you mentioned that, you know, there's people who want lures to put them up on a mantle or something. And I think that's maybe people think that I'm making some kind of like creation of art that's, you know, it's just a lure, you know. And I've had people say, hey man, I've had people I work with who fish, who, you know, maybe did me a favor and I said, you know, if you want, I'll make you whatever lure you want. And they usually come up with some just disgusting, ugly ass lure. I make it anyway. And they end up, you know, hanging it in their office. And I'm like, dude, why don't you fish with that thing? No, man, you know, it's a custom lure. So yeah,
Fish it.
those are the frustrations I've had. But I appreciate you saying that. And I really, you know, for anybody who watches this and watches my channel as well, I really do appreciate everybody who comments and says, you know, this is how this has impacted me. Even if it's like, even if you're disagreeing with it, as long as you're not being a jerk. And, you know, I really appreciate that. To me, that's like a bigger part of the process than getting any kind of, you know, ad revenue out of this, because there's very little. So I, you know, it's just enough to keep me in resin, you know, but everything else. So really what gives me joy as far as my interaction with the audience is those comments. It really satisfying. It's a good question. I appreciate it.
That's good.
I will say there has been many of group chats with your videos shared in them between bait makers. Like, I'm having this problem and it's like, watch this engineered angler video. I'm having this issue. Watch this engineered angler video. Like, I'm having an issue with my clear coat. Watch this. I want to spray UV resin. Watch this. Like, it just, if anybody's trying to get into bait making, like, just watch a video a day and you'll just be like, you know, it's going to answer a lot of your questions just watching the videos.
Yeah.
Well, even in our last, we do every once in a while, Franko will do on the off weeks, because this podcast airs every other week. On the off weeks, we'll do a Bait Boys Extra video, which is, it could be a paint tutorial, it could be a build tutorial, just something outside of the podcast platform that we share with people. And in the last one, I built just a simple DIY crankbait, or I did a simple DIY crankbait tutorial. And even in that video, I was like, whenever you're trying to find like the right weight placement, Engineered Angler has a great video. I'll leave a link in the description for that. And like, I've linked your video in the description for that one, because it gets thrown around a lot. If you're trying to figure something out, then you're the resource, right? Like the Engineered Angler Lures YouTube channel is the resource for me, at least. And for a lot of us, that's like, if there's something that you're struggling with from a action standpoint, you know, or really mostly an action standpoint, or just a technical or technical design aspect, like that's the first stop shop is your channel.
I appreciate that. That's cool. That's really
we
cool.
appreciate you doing it. We appreciate you solving so many problems for us.
It's satisfying to know, because, you know, a lot of times I'll get questions like that, and you can tell it's beginner lure makers, because I think that's really, anyway, I think most of the information I put out there is really helpful to, especially like, you know, novice lure makers. Once you get, you know, you get a lot of lures under your belt, you already made a lot of mistakes and you're learning from your own. But a lot of my answers are just me forwarding the link to, you know, masterclass number 2 on crankbait.
That was the one that I linked.
So, you know, I mean, and I always think, shit, I hope this doesn't seem like I'm being arrogant and don't want to talk to the guy. this is where the information's at, man. You need to go watch
Mhm.
the video. It'd be a long time to build it, to make the video. Anyway.
I do the same thing, and I felt the same way. So recently, somebody I'm designing a bait for, he had questions about just mixing resin and micro balloons and like ratio, whatever, material and tools. And I did a video with specialty resin, and it literally answered all of his questions. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be a jerk, but there's no reason for me to sit here for the next 5 minutes typing when everything is answered in this video. Like, you're going to learn way more just watching this.
Yeah.
But I felt the same way. I'm like, I hope it doesn't come off like I'm not trying to answer him, but like it's answered in there, and it's better than me typing it.
Yeah. And you never know how you come across. It's weird. When I did the first video on the remeltable silicone, which I think is fantastic. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being dumb, but I really think that thing has a lot more potential than I thought of yet. But anyway, I did that, and somebody commented complaining that I had not put a link. No, not that a link. I did put a link. That I had not put it in my Amazon store, and I didn't give any price on it. So I'm unsubscribing. And I'm like, okay, dude, you came here for a price of something? There's a thing called Google. Just freaking Google it. Are you kidding me? Anyway, so you never know how someone's going to take what you do and how they're going to go off in some weird emotional way. It's
That remeltable silicone, I would say within a half hour of you posting that video, would you agree, Jesse? We all were like sharing it. Like, I know Victor sent it to me, and then we talked about it in our group chat. Victor's another bait maker. Yeah, I'm like, how have I never seen this stuff? It's great. Like, I make so much garbage baits that the molds, I end up just cutting them up, or I broke a Ninja blender trying to blend them so I could dump it back in the mold and pour silicone over it for the next one, because it's just testing them. And that's like, how have I never seen that before?
Right? Isn't that amazing? No, and this is like a kind of a semi-off brand, although it's really good. The main brand, it's been around a lot longer. I approached, I said, it's like an $18 item, and it's not like I need to save the $18. I just said, hey, I would love to promote this. Would you like to send me some stuff and give me an array of the stuff you have? I think it's a really handy thing for my niche. Zero. They had no interest. You believe that? Meanwhile, I get like 3 electric bikes a year. They're, $1,200, $1,500 bike. I don't get this. It's such a weird environment we're in. It's such a weird specialty resins. I've been using specialty resins since I got kind of ticked off at Aluma products, and they had their issues at the beginning, but their stuff is really good now. And I've approached them 2 or 3 times. I get nothing from them. Like, and It's not like I'm looking for money. I just like, hey man, give me a flow of materials so I can just promote your stuff. And we'll
put in a good word for you.
Yeah, I could talk to somebody.
I usually don't like cover up names or anything. I don't do any of that crap. You know what I mean? If I'm using it, I'm using it. If they're not giving me anything, they're not. A lot of channels, if you don't promote them, they won't show your stuff. I don't do that, but it'd be nice if they just, send me a, couple of items. I get a lot of stuff that, I usually give away. Test it.
We may able. I didn't think that there was much we could do for you, but we might be able to put you in touch with Specialty Resin, because they are a sponsor of the shows. I say we. Anthony has a great relationship with them, so
that's good.
If you want, we'll point him your way. I'm volunteering Anthony to do that. I hope that's okay.
I'm fine.
You don't have to.
So am I.
He's
You don't
the
have to
mind at
contact
all.
for that. No, he'd love to.
I know they are trying. So I don't know when you spoke to them, but within the last year or so, they're very much trying to be more well known in the bait making realm. Like, they see the value there. I don't know what, but before I used their products, before I ever started dealing with them directly,
Sure.
and they were always good. But now, like, I see they're trying to, like, you know, get more into bait making. Their resin and their silicone, like some of their silicones are just fantastic for making baits, making molds.
Yeah.
And it's just simple. Like, it's so much simpler to see what you want.
No, I contacted them. It's been years, man. It's like probably 4 years ago. I contacted them after I really started using their stuff. And I had been in a conversation with them because I was having technical problems with them. And they were trying to help me through it, trying to come up with techniques to make it work. And then I said, hey, I'm doing all this stuff. You guys, you want to like just send me some products? And because I'm just using this particular product, but I have the capacity to use a lot of your different types of products. Would you like to do that? And they never replied. So I figured, they're not interested. Whatever. But anyway.
I see their ads all the time now, and it's always it's usually Anthony, because Anthony's done a couple ads for him. We've done a couple ads for him, so now I get to see my own face as a sponsored ad on Facebook sometimes, which that's weird. So maybe it's time to if you want to revisit the conversation, because they've been doing a lot of that lately. So, and this episode isn't sponsored by them, but like Anthony said, we all used them before we ever worked with them. And anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but Trevor, there was a second part to your question, right?
Yeah. One sec. So tell us how the community has helped you in return. We know what you have done for us, but what have we done for you? If anything, of course.
Damn nothing, man. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I believe it.
No, I mean, like I said, what I get back is really the heartfelt comments about things that they do, things they try. And a lot of folks just openly share stuff with me, like the things they're working on. Those, send me tons of photographs of their first attempt at a crankbait or first attempt at a swim bait, and just share. And I'll point out something, and those kinds of interactions really are kind of enrich the process for me. They sort of, I don't know. I mean, to me, it just feels like I'm using that knowledge and not just putting it out there in some archive, but reproducing it again when it's needed. You know what I mean? It's really satisfying to have someone say, hey, look, here's a swim bait and this is what it's doing. And of course, there's limited things I can do just looking at it, but sometimes I'm able to go, oh, okay, I see what you did wrong. Here's what you need to change. And it usually helps. And to me, that's what I'm getting back, is like that kind of interactive sharing where, they're reaching out for a little help. And sometimes I've had folks send me stuff, not send me material, but send me information. And I even had someone send me a different variety of the UV resin that actually has a matte finish. I have it around here. I have not done a video on it. I feel bad about it, but it comes with it actually creates a matte finish at the end, which I think is something a lot of people are interested in. So I'll have to do a video on that. So yeah, I get a lot back, mostly from that sort of exchange of ideas, interactive exchange of like a feeling of, satisfaction. People send me pictures of fish they've caught on lures they've made, based on something they saw in the video. That's really, really satisfying.
That community engagement is always a good thing. We see it here on a much smaller scale than you do, but like when people comment, whenever people jump in, when people message us on Instagram and say, hey, this was a really good episode, like great job. It is rewarding. It is rewarding. So we get that sometimes too. So I get what you're saying for sure. But so we've got a couple of questions that we ask every new guest, and they're not like, this isn't the SAT or anything like this. Don't worry. It's not a right answer. It's built around your preferences as far as a couple of different things go. But what is your favorite lure of all time and why?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Once you're a lure maker, you just feel like every lure has the potential to be a new lure under your hand and a better lure. So it's difficult to have a favorite, but I can tell you when I was a young boy, when I was probably 12, living in New Jersey, there was a little store called Rockaway Sale down, and it was like a mini Kmart kind of thing. And they had a really good fishing section. and I would just stand there and stare at the hard baits. And my favorite thing was the jitterbugs, and they, you had the little tiny ones, and then they had the big. And I little by little saved up, my little bit. I think I got 50 cents a week or something as my allowance. I saved up my money, and I bought probably 6 or 8 of those things, and I still have probably half of them. And how old are they? They're like 50-year-old lures hanging. And, I had broken back once. And so I guess if I had a favorite, it wouldn't be because I thought it was the most potent lure on the market or anything. It's because I just had a link to it as a kid. So it'd be the jitterbug, which is pretty much a classic lure. And it catches.
Oh, yeah. It absolutely catches fish. I know I have a buddy that still uses them. And I think they should make a comeback. I think those, and they kind of are. You're seeing a lot more like crawler style stuff these days, but not necessarily the jitterbug design itself. But we said in a previous episode that like, I think the retro stuff is going to come back. The stuff that's been out there for a long time and is still on the market today, but everybody kind of ignores because they're, quote unquote old lures. But no, jitterbug's a solid answer. And it doesn't have to be because it's the best lure performance wise. The question was, what is your favorite lure? So you answered it perfectly. The next question I want to ask is, what is an interesting fact about you that people who follow you on YouTube would never guess? And it can be fishing or non-fishing related, whatever works.
All right. I was a deep sea diver. My first degree was in underwater technology, basically offshore diving operations. I was a deep sea diver for 5 years out in the Gulf of Mexico, when it was the Gulf of Mexico, by the way. So I am correct saying that's just back in the 80s or mid 80s. And I was out there working in the rigs. The deepest dive I ever went was like almost 600 feet in saturation chamber. So yeah, it was serious deep water stuff. And most people that's another world though. It's like being an underwater.
What do you do? What do you do at 600 feet?
Construction, believe it or not. Thank you very much. It's just hard physical labor, and you work alone. That's the thing. You're at 500 feet alone in the dark with one big light hanging over you as you're tightening bolts on a pipe, working 4 hours at a time. Yeah, it's brutal work.
Crazy.
Cold. It's cold and dark. It's at 300 feet, there's zero light. And at 500 feet, it's so cold. It's like 40-degree water, maybe 45-degree water. And this is in hot weather now. Water at the surface is probably 90 or 80 degrees. Anyway, yeah, it's miserable work. But yeah, that's something that probably no one would know.
I'd have never guessed. That's all.
I was gonna say you're a salsa dancer on the side.
Yeah.
That would have been my guess.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Terrible guess. I can't dance at all.
Deep sea diving construction is way cooler than salsa dancing. So I think you win that. I think you win that there. But no, that's. I'm trying to think back of all the answers we've had to that question. That's the one that surprised me the most. Not because I wouldn't think that you would do that, but just because like that was so out of left field that I never would have expected. That's really cool. That's really cool. And I'm just thinking about like you had to wear like the full like the hard helmet and all the compression stuff and all the like you had to worry about the nitrogen bubbles in your blood and stuff like that. And it's got to be scary.
What if you drop your wrench?
What's that?
What if you drop your wrench?
You got tethered, man. You got the wrenches tethered to you. No, I can tell you the story. I was diving. This is shallow water stuff. This is the scariest crap I ever did. I was diving near an outflow of a nuclear power plant here in Florida, and I had to change. There's a gate valve, those ones with the big wheel on it, in a like a 20-inch pipe. I had to change the gasket in the thing, but to get to it, they had to lift the pipe out of the mud, and the pipe's in like 3 feet of like peanut butter kind of mud. It's just, you just sink into it. And they had to lift it up with a crane. Of course, I'm in like, it's shallow water. It's like 30 feet of water. And so I had to get it and then just loosen the nuts, but I can't get the bolts out because the thing's lifted. So they had to lower the pipe back down, but I got to go down with it. So I stuck my legs under the pipe. And I said, okay, lower the pipe. And I just grabbed my helmet and held it down because I knew the mud would want to take it off. and it sunk me down into the mud, 4 feet down into the mud, to where I thought of this because what I would do is I would just take a wrench when I was done, and I would just leave it right here. You can't see anything, you're in mud. And then I would just kind of remember it and just kind of reach out in the mud and find it in space and then grab it again. It was crazy. That's the kind of crap you do when you're like in your 20s and you think you're made out of freaking titanium and you survive by the grace of God and the people are paying you crap and you think you're a hero. Yeah. No, I would never do that again.
That sounds
Never do.
awful.
I mean,
I
if you
got
had
scared.
if you had the tiniest little bit of, claustrophobia, you would have died. It was like, I started to get started to hyperventilate a little bit because of a little, I had no claustrophobia, but I was feeling it. And I took my watch, which has the illuminated bezel, and I stuck it up against the glass of the helmet just so I could focus on something. Cause it's just a blackness that goes beyond imagination, dude. It's friggin' nightmare.
That sounds horrifying.
Yeah.
But kudos to you for doing it. Like, I don't even know that I would do something like that in my 20s. I did some stupid stuff in my 20s, but I don't know if I would do something that ballsy. But that's cool. Yeah, no, that was a great fun fact. That's easily top 3, if not number 1, as the most interesting fun facts we've had. No slight to our other guests that have been on. That's wild. That's wild. Crazy. Well, is there anything exciting coming up from Engineered Angler Lures or anything that you're doing that our viewers should be on the lookout for? Because I'm going to tell our viewers to subscribe, even though I know you already are, to Engineered Angler Lures, but is there anything that people should be on the lookout for, new and exciting, coming from you and your content?
Well, I think this year, I've been threatening to go into 3D printing for a while. And I just haven't, because it just feels like a lot of time to invest in preparing for it. I haven't used 3D CAD in a long time. It's been years since I designed something on CAD. And so I'd have to relearn a lot of it. But I want to do it. And I want to get a 3D printer just to be able to print a lot of other stuff too. So I'm going to try to do that this year. I'll tap into Anthony's expertise.
That's what I was going to say. We got a guy. If you need somebody to point you in the right direction, we got a guy.
I'll take you down my rabbit hole.
Okay, that'd be great. I started out with Fusion 360 and got frustrated with those guys with the software. So I'm moving on, but I'm still working around to see what I'm going to do. Plus, I'm trying to get someone to sponsor the hardware. So we'll see. But I definitely want to get into it. That's something here's the other thing. I know my obsessions and how they work. And once I get into something like that, it's going to be tough to extricate me from it. So I don't want to abandon the handmade lures. And so, yeah, but I'm going to continue doing, there's another lure experiment I want to do with an existing crankbait I made. That's a really good crankbait, but it has a really nice shad, broad body shad shape. I play with orifices and that. I want to play with doing venting through the body. So different angles. I want to try that with a lip and without a lip. I designed the body so that it swims when you retrieve it, and I want to see what it does to swim action. So that's going to be a fun.
Is this the time I can give suggestions?
Sure, man, go for it.
That's up to Franko, I guess.
So you know how you did the hollow body lures with the rotating?
Yep.
Are you familiar with the dipping, the latex dipping process?
Yeah, I am familiar with it. I got turned off to that. Go ahead.
There is no videos showing that unless you're interested in making latex gloves in China. There's nothing.
I actually discovered, I think it was a Filipino one.
Or
of course,
Indonesia.
it's not in English. And they're making tiny little frogs. Latex frogs are maybe 1.25 inches. Interesting because, you add the color inside out, right? So you add the color, then you dip a different color, then, they add strength. And then so when you flip it inside out, the outside is the inside color. And then, you end up with a little frog. But the thing is, I'm trying to remember what turned me off to it. I think it was just the fact that I mean, there's just so much to do. You have to have a big hole in it, first of all. And then the latex is, first of all, it's not really good for you to be
Really?
exposed to too much latex, especially the melted latex. It's not really good. Plus the vapors come out melted latex. Not good for you either. So I'm kind of like hesitant to do that. So I was looking for 2-part soft rubber that could be used the same way. And I have there are some, but they're real industrial and you can't get a hold of them. So I'm exploring that. But believe it or not, the Rotocaster has real potential. I just haven't. I've been
That
playing
thing-
with it, and I have made some pretty good. What happened here? Like the rubber frogs that have come out pretty nice. I mean,
Yeah,
That-
they were coming out awesome.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's a pretty nice, damn nice frog. And the only thing I have to say, this is 2-part polyurethane plastic from Specialty Resins, and they have 2 hardnesses. They need a hardness in the middle. The soft is too soft and the hard is too hard, and that's where I'm stuck because that's the hard is just a bit too hard. So anyway, that's where I'm at with that.
I would like to see somehow a dipping process because the Rotocaster is really cool, but for like a garage setting to scale it a little bit, I feel like is difficult. But the
Oh, yeah.
dipping, from what I've seen, like, and I know exactly what you saw, like with those videos Trevor showed me forever ago, and then I spent like a year trying to figure out what they were using, how they were doing it, and it just looks so simple. Like,
Yeah.
you just dip, and then there's a vulcanizer, which from what I understand is vinegar. Like you can use a diluted vinegar solution and natural latex
Mm.
and go back and forth. And I have the latex and I haven't tried it because I have no darn time. I should just try it with a spoon.
Yeah, you should do it. Do it.
But now I'm not sure because I didn't know latex was not. Maybe I'll just
It's
put a
not great
respirator
for
on.
you. It's not really good for you. But I mean, if you wear nitrile glove doing it, and and have a good ventilated space, it's not like it's going to kill you. Not right away.
One
I mean, we
day.
all work with lead too.
Everybody's
so
got to
it's-
die.
Something's got to kill you.
That would be cool. I'd like to see
Yeah.
that. And another suggestion. These are all problems I'm
All right.
He needs you to solve for him specifically.
I'm subcontracting them out. I think it'd be helpful to other people also, especially the hollow body.
There's a
The
cell.
hollow, the hollow body too, because there was nothing really on YouTube about it besides like one other video of somebody doing it with like Flex Seal or Plasti Dip. But the other one, which I think would be cool, and you made me think about it when you brought up fluid dynamics, like a bench testing system for testing fluid dynamics that's not like ridiculously expensive.
A water tunnel? Like
Not
wind
a water
but a
tunnel, though. Yeah, but one that, like, a way to test, like, for example, a swim bait. Like, you actually want it, to have the proper, like, some tension and the flow is actually imparting action on it. Like, that'd be cool. I've seen where people do it with, like, flies and they
Yeah,
put
yeah.
it in there and the bucktail blows out and stuff. But, yeah, I think it'd be cool for like a
Yeah.
crankbait, for example.
Well, I designed a flow tank. Shoot, man. I was at a conference, an engineering conference, like 10 years ago. Nah, not that long ago. Maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And I was bored to death. So I designed a flow tank to do exactly that. The difficulty is that it's expensive, man, because you gotta, everything you make has to be marine grade, right? Everything you use in it, the motors, the impellers, everything has got to be marine grade. And then it's not guaranteed that it's going to give you unturbolized water. So you have to have laminar flow through at least, a 12-inch section. And so you have to manipulate that. And that takes some doing. It can be done. And I'm still interested in doing it, but that's the kind of thing that would take up so much space. so much space. I would have, you know,
Mhm.
you'd have to have a fluid tank, reservoir, and then a way to pump it, and then some way to be able to see everything. So everything's got to be made out of, you know, Lexan, and you know, so all that stuff takes a lot of money. And a lot of
No,
space.
you can do it. You can think out of the box and do it.
We believe in you.
I have faith that it could happen in nothing larger than a 20-gallon fish tank somehow.
There you go. It would be tough. That would be a tough one. You can do it, the visual part in 20-gallon fish tank, but that water's got to flow. So it's got to come from somewhere, go somewhere else. And that's where it gets complicated. But it's doable. It is doable. It is doable. And maybe I'll do it just to piss you off. That's what I'm going to do. Just kidding.
I'm gonna be I'll be so mad if you do it.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, Franko, it's been awesome hanging out with you and getting to meet you after. I feel like it's one of those situations where you meet somebody after consuming their content for so long. It's feel like you already know them, but it's weird. Anyway, sorry. But thank you for hanging out with us and spending the time. And hopefully we didn't scare you off and you'll be willing to come back another time at some point. We'll dig a little more into some specific engineering, physics type stuff. Get a little more in depth with some of those things if you're interested. If we didn't scare you off from the first interaction, if you never want to hear from us again too, that's fine. We understand.
Just block us.
No, I appreciate it. Well, this is fun, man. I could do this forever, man. I really enjoyed talking about it, and I, especially with a group, you know, because you guys have a lot of experience and you have your own, you know, specific areas of expertise, and it'd be nice to, you know, chat a little more and hear a lot more from you guys.
Oh.
That's my first.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. We're not quite done with the episode. This is our next kind of order of operations to close things out, is we just kind of go around the room and talk about what everybody's working on right now. So, Franko, what do you have going on right this minute as far as bait making goes?
As far as bait making goes, I'm going to be working on that micro bladed jig. That's something I want to do really soon. That's something that's going to be going on in the background. Probably won't be a video immediately, but the next video is probably going to be the experimentation with the vented bodies. I'm hoping to do that pretty soon. And I want to do another master class, and I wanted to reach out to my viewers and see what they want, because I know what I want to do, but I would like to hear from the folks out there to see what they want in a master class. And obviously it's got to be something I have some level of mastery in. So a lot of people want to ask me stuff. I'm like, I'm not as good as you are. I don't know. So anyway, yeah. So those are the kind of things I'm going to be looking to do soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What about you, Anthony? What are you working on right now?
Right now, I got done pouring a bunch of these silicone molds for the mini mean bean and the mighty mean bean and the mobster lobster. I had it's a good name. I love it. I don't care.
That's not a bad name. It's just not the best name option that you had. It's like it's a good name.
We're just gonna have to make a Crommy Daddy eventually.
I'm gonna have to, because nobody else will name their bait Crommy Daddy, so I'm gonna have to
the
make
mobster lobster.
Check it out. All right, man. Nice.
So yeah, that's what I'm finally wrapped up with. And what am I working on specifically?
You got that big thing
moment?
behind you running yet?
No. Yeah, that's another thing. I just ordered more bits for it. I've done almost nothing with it. Want to see what I cut?
For those of you who are listening to the audio portion of this, Anthony bought a new desktop CNC that is now behind him in his.
This
angle.
is what I cut. Practically nothing. But what I was
excited to get that thing.
No, but I'm taking baby steps. What I was trying to do was figure out the automatic tool changer and setting up my tool locations in Fusion 360, which now I got that, and now I'm trying to figure out what tool library, what tools I want to keep in it, because obviously some tools are not good for aluminum. Some tools are going to be good for plastic versus aluminum. So you can build a tool library in Fusion. But then on top of that, there's 1.5 million settings, with speeds, feeds, step over, step down, this, that, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So before I even attempt to dig into aluminum, I'm trying to like get a little grasp of it because I'm not naive to the fact that I'm pretty clueless. Like I've machined aluminum before and it was awful. And I'm thinking it's because I jumped right into it. So I'm trying to learn a little bit before. So I'm excited for that, but it's not going to happen immediately. I've had it for a couple weeks and that's what I've cut. But it's pretty cool. Look how nice it cut it. This is like some
Great
type of
circles and
resin
squares.
board.
Like Delrin or something?
No, it's not Delrin, but they just called it like a resin board. I think it came with,
Nice.
I got HDPE, but like that's another thing. So like the tools I ordered today were for aluminum and I'm not going to want to use it for this because they, you know, you need different flutes and all that crap. And then I have all these that I had in my garage and I'm like, do I go through them and see what's what and add them in, or do I just start over and put this back in the garage? And that's kind of where I'm headed because
Surely some of those will work for that.
oh, they will, you know, they definitely will. But I have to go through them and like, you have to set up like, you know, the tool itself. Otherwise it doesn't know what it's cutting with. So, and if something's
Yeah, I
off, then it's not going to come out right. Basically going to be a disaster more than likely. So I'm glad
That's all
I
right.
bought it.
I believe in you. I believe in you. You can do it.
Thanks, man.
Trevor, what about you? What do you got going on lately?
Lately, well, I'm painting a batch of glide baits for Black Flag swim baits. I'm pouring a bunch of soft plastics for, you know, waiting for this wonderful ice and snow to melt for myself and most of the country. And then I'm just prepping for spring in the shop, and that's it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Same old, same old.
Those baits look
Good stuff.
awesome.
Thank you.
And they're heading back down towards Franko, down to Florida.
Down to Florida.
It's
Nice.
they're nice baits. You did a good job. They're nice, and like when you look at the picture you posted, it does nothing for when you're holding one in your hand. Like to see how nice and chunky you can appreciate it in person 10 times more than you can in the post.
Well, that's how painting them is, and it's like you
I'm not even
wish you
talking
could.
about painting. I'm talking about just the raw resin, naked blank, staring back at you with no eyes, of
that-
course.
Thank you.
They're good.
Yeah, they looked really good.
Thanks.
In all ways. Naked, resin blank, and with your paint job on them.
Unpainted.
They look great.
Thank you.
What are you working on, Jesse?
I'm trying to put together a really, really big drop of the Probe Mini Glide just so I can get a bunch out there and let them sit for a while to where I can work on other stuff that I've been putting off. Well, just instead of doing more frequent, smaller drops, I'm just going to do one really, really big one, as big as I can muster. But yeah, when are we recording? So this episode is airing on March 1st, actually. And that's the date that I'm shooting for to post all these probes. So I've had a lot of people asking for them. I've had a lot of weird paint requests. I have enlisted the help of my wife to paint a few of them. She does these like really cool geometric doodle things, just like whenever she's reading or like listening to a book or watching TV or doing stuff. So just like a bunch of different little things. I was like, hey, well, you want to try to do that on a lure? And she's like, sure, I'll try it. And so she's made 3 of them for me so far, and they look really cool. they're probably not going to be any better at catching fish, but they look neat. So those will be in that drop as well. So the Mrs. Freak lineup is a thing now, and I don't even have to pay her. So that's cool. A painter that you don't have to pay.
You'll pay somehow.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm more making a withdrawal because I've already paid so much in. So she doesn't watch this, so I can say that. No, but no, it was a hidden talent we didn't know she had. It was bait painting. So she just uses acrylic pens and does it. And then I add a little bit of detail and clear coat and good to go. But it's really cool. That's all I've really had time to work on lately, is trying to get as many of these baits out the door as possible. Hopefully it'll buy me some time to do other stuff and work on some other exciting designs I have in the process. But that's about it. That and this. editing and doing all that stuff for the podcast. But
And we
yeah.
thank you for that,
Yeah.
for all of your hard work.
Oh, we just passed 200 subscribers
I saw that.
for the podcast. That's pretty cool. And 700 on Instagram. So that's a milestone for us.
Yeah.
Start off slow. We realize we have a very niche audience. There's not a ton of the population that likes to listen to people talk about bait making for 1 to 2 hours every other week, but there's enough that we're in the 200 range now. So it'll be no time we're up in Franko's realm with the 50,000-60,000. So I keep believing that, because whenever I'm spending hours editing, I just got to believe that one day it's all going to pay off. We do it because we love it. That's what we always say. Cool. All right. Well, once again, this is the time we would normally close out with the question of the week. We still do not have any questions of the week. Nobody listened to us in the last episode and gave us our questions of the week. So we don't have a question of the week from a viewer, but I figured one of us at least has a good question that we can discuss for a couple minutes before we sign this thing off. Franko, yeah, do you have anything that you want to discuss?
Nah, I don't have anything specific in mind right now. But my mind is
Okay.
I actually came up with an idea for a lure just now. So now
Okay.
I'm stuck in that space now.
It's like, I need these guys to shut up so I can get to work on this thing.
Right.
But
let's wrap
all right,
this
that's
up.
fine. We'll skip the question of the week this week. But if you do have a question that you'd like to see us answer on a future episode of the Bait Boys podcast, please, for the love of God, leave it in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure you're following Franko and all of his various medias. Franko, obviously you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that other jazz as well.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. We'll add links to those in the description below as well. And make sure you're following Franko and paying attention, if you're not already, to the cool things that he's experimenting with and doing. But yeah, and a big thanks to 8-Bit Baits for sponsoring this season of the Bait Boys podcast. Don't forget to enter the 8-Bit Baits Bait Boys Battle Royale, now active through April 30th. Get your entries in. You could win a $250 gift card from 8-Bit Baits. Other than that, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Franko, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Let me know when you're going to drop this. And I'll definitely put it in my community too. Let everybody watch us know so they can tune in.
Oh, we
Thanks,
appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, this will be March 1st whenever this goes live. So thank you. But yeah, I'll shoot you a message and let you and give you a reminder, because it's a little time before then. But yeah, thank you very much for doing that. That's very, very kind of you. We appreciate all the help we can get. But yeah, thank you for hanging out with us and letting us pick your brain for a couple hours. But hopefully it didn't hurt too bad. But yeah, and thank you all for sticking through with us to the end. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Bait Boys Podcast, that's all we got. This episode is over, but there's always the next. Before you leave, like, share, and subscribe, and drop a comment below. It'll keep us alive. Thanks for making us your choice. It's all for now with the Bait Boys.
Great job, fellas.
Is my audio still screwed up?